First of all, this is a site that's just about to go live. This is a site that Jen's done some content writing on there for us. What we did, we give her the original text and then she came back with this text. This is the home page. As you see, there's not a lot on the page itself. There's a video at the bottom here. That's about it. Company profile she redid for us as well. Like most owners, this owner knew exactly what he wanted to write. The trouble is it didn't read or rank very well. So that's what we gave Jen. She worked with us and sent it back. She also sent back the keywords for each page and so on, so that made it a little easier. The catalogue page she's had nothing to do with at all, for obvious reasons, that it's a component in itself, which I might do in the future. It's a very good component for anyone who just does catalogue sites. You can add pricing, but it's not really a shopping site, it's a catalogue site. And a very nice one. Sales hire, once again, was done by Jen. As you see, there's not a lot of text on these things. That's probably one of the biggest text pages. So what she was saying about 300, 400 words is probably about right. And they look like nice full pages. Service, same again. That's about it. Now if I go to the back end of that site, I hope. Right, this is iSEO Pro, which is a component from iJoomla.com. You'll see it's probably their first program they did. They've got a couple of programs out now. The other one they do is classified sites. They have a complete wrapped up classified box. On this site, but if you're not sure of what's happening, we'll go and look. For instance, one of the things we were talking about before was managing our meta tags and our keywords and so on. So we go to the meta tags manager. Obviously we're going to have to log in. I've been logged out while I've been waiting. Hang on. Oh, it's all right. I was looking for someone else's name. I was thinking of the wrong site. So we're back in there again. See much watch. For instance, when you first install this, she's got this video you must watch. Why aren't my meta tags showing? It's obviously mistakes that people make. One of the things that was interesting I found watching that video was the very first step you do is, especially with Joomla 3 now, is empty out all that configuration content that it puts in. Remember, it puts in you've got a space there now, it automatically fills in for a meta tag and a meta description and that becomes like the overall one for your site. The first thing you must do is make all that empty again in your configuration, because otherwise that overrides what you're doing within your SEO, which is what you don't want to happen. Right, we'll go back into our manager now. Oh, we were in our manager, there we go. So you notice that the only bit I've done so far, whoops, if I keep it there, is I've done the tag, which is 66 words max. I've done the keywords. In this one you'll see I've got a lot. We're allowed up to 300 words max. And then we've got the descriptions, which gives us up to 155 max characters. Remembering also spaces are characters, and if you use a comma it's characters, and if you're like me you get right down the info and you've got to try and work out what you're going to remove to keep the content the way you wanted in that description. And remembering what Jen was saying earlier, that description is actually what shows up underneath your heading that gets found on Google. Then it's just a matter of going through these. Obviously this shows each page. You'll notice this little view button here. It makes it very nice. It actually brings up the contents of that page. So you can cut and paste little bits out if you wanted to, for instance. Or you could refresh your memory on what's on that page without having to flick browsers. So you stay within the component itself while you're doing all this work. Now, if there's things you don't want to show, I'm maybe telling you the obvious here, but you've obviously got a robot.txt file as well that you can fill in. In that file, you can tell it what pages. It's basically telling Google, or any other search engine for that matter, what pages don't look at. Don't look at these pages. The reason for that could be like we may have duplicated one of our pages for some reason, and we've got a reason for doing it for our site, but that would be a real disaster for Google. When it's searching, it would say, oh, we've got duplicate content here. There's a minus. So what we do in the robot, we stop it finding that second page that we know that's there. So use your robot.txt as much as you can. It's very important. Right, in these things, we've got optimize, we've got track keywords. Now into each one of these, this is what I was talking about. See up the top up here? There's a video we can go to. If I just click on this one for a minute, how to use Keywords Manager. And I will not run the whole thing. Oh, it's interesting. It's not Margot that's doing it. But basically, these are all on their website as well. You get, when you buy the component, you also get access to all the training videos they've got as well. Oh, I've got the speakers plugged in, sorry. So there's nothing in here. But actually, there is someone talking in the background leading you through that, because there's nothing I hate worse than one of these video tutorials where no one speaks and you've got to try and follow, you know, sort of, to me, that's pointless. I don't learn anything. I'm too busy trying to track what they're actually doing at the time. I'll just close that for now. So every page or every part of the component you go into has got video training as well, live, which is nice. Optimize pages. Right, once again, not that they're all filled in, but it will show us under the different areas what we've got as description, what our keywords are from that page that it's picked up, and what we're using and what we're not using. In other words, for instance, at the moment we've got things like forklift service, servicing Brisbane, and that we haven't used as keywords yet. That's what it's telling us basically. And we should be, because we've identified them. I'm only quickly going to shoot through this. Like I said, I want to actually make a meeting out of this because this is very comprehensive. And if you master this program, then basically you won't have to worry about, you know, doing your SEO properly. It will be done properly. Now, what I was going to say, with the proviso also, of course, you still need things like a sitemap. This doesn't produce your sitemap, so you still use XMap or whatever to produce your sitemap. I have already sent a suggestion. It'd be really nice if it produced a sitemap afterwards. It does seem a natural progression. Maybe I'll get an answer back. I only sent that off the other day that it already does, and I just didn't find it. So that could be quite the case. So you produce your sitemap and submitting to your, it doesn't do the auto submits as well, but it does show you a video on submitting to websites and so on. Sorry, not websites, to search engines. Probably the biggest thing people miss, they submit to search engines, but they don't look at all the local directory services and so on. And it's very important to chase them up. So if you can find all your local directory services, often you'll find the business is already listed on there, but no one's taken ownership of it. So you get the business owner to take ownership of it and then fix up his listing in there so it matches his website. So they're important things for SEO as well. It also means you've got another a site of importance like TrueLocal pointing back to your website, which is a plus rather than a minus. One of the things not to do anymore with the latest Google changes is don't use those farm link sites and so on, because now you get minus points against, if you use one of those, Google knows about them. If it sees any of your links coming from those, you'll be marked downwards. So you'll actually spiral. There's a couple of sites that have been ranking really well with some of these guys that have been doing that. Suddenly found themselves, they've dropped out of you know, the top 20 pages, let alone the top one. They've dropped right back because they were basing all their marketing on that. And I think we mentioned, did we mention last month about Facebook? That might be in between. Facebook's also going the same way now. That a lot of companies, probably the biggest one well known would be Southern Comfort and Jack Daniels, is it? They're the one company. For the last how many years, they've based most of their worldwide marketing on their Facebook. They put an ad on Facebook. They've got over 1 million plus likes. So they were getting 1 million plus hits on their ad straight away to the people who like them. So therefore they wanted to see those ads. And it's been working very well for them. I just watched a video the other day where the CEO of the company was speaking. He says, right, We've got to go back to grassroots. We've got to redo our website. It's a wake-up call for us from Facebook. Other sites are going to start doing the same thing because they've got shareholders. Shareholders want to make money. They make money through advertising. So no more free advertising, in other words, just by posting the likes. I think at the moment only 6% of people who like you will actually see anything you post. And that's going to be dropped to 0%. So overnight they went from 100% to 6%. Next drop is 6% to 0%. So in other words, if you want people on your site, if you've got people you want to see something at the moment, you've got to actually name them as part of your posting. With, you know where you put with so-and-so? You'd have to put with Joe Blow, with Jack Black, and then they would actually get to see it. That's the only way they'll see it now. They won't see it otherwise. And once again, that's because Google wants you paying for the ads on the side of the page. Oh, not Google, sorry, Facebook. And it won't be too long before Pinterest and other sites will all be doing the same thing because they've all got shareholders, they all want to make money. And I thought the CEO of Jack Daniels or whatever was pretty good when he said, you know, it had to happen. It's a wake-up call. We've got to go back. We've got to do our websites properly now. We've got to make sure they're going to rank properly and we get our advertising out that way correctly. Right, I'll leave that alone for the moment. I'll just drop back into here. We've had a quick look at that. There's nothing more apart from the content and that in that. And Jen, part of what she did, to give you an idea of costings, Jen didn't mention costings. She charges me about $70 a page to redo the text. And with that, she'll do a couple of rewrites. In this case, we didn't need to do the rewrites because she had the basic text. Sometimes I don't supply her hardly any text and she has to, you know, beef it out and make it look pretty and give me keywords and everything else written into it. In this case, we only had basically one write and it was enough for the site because it had been out there before. This site, if you looked up this site, NYK Forklifts, you'll see that it looks completely different live at the moment. It's about to change because we just finished the other site and then the owner decided that he wanted a new site. He didn't like the old colours and he's rebranding. That's on that. The other thing I was going to mention now, moving away from SEO, I just read one of your tags, Andrew, there, Summit on Sex. It's a family site. Carly from home has sent me this. It's called Asana. If you want a really good free project management tool, this one is free, up to 15 projects you can run in it. You can have co-people in it. I've only got my graphic designer in it, so there's only 2 of us mentioned. You'll see 2 little separate pictures. To give you an idea, but if I click on one of these, we move over the right-hand side here. And over the right-hand side, we can add, if I click on this, we can create sub-contents underneath as well, like these ones. So we can break down our whole project. Probably one of the better ones to look at. Where are we? Right. See these here? I've broken it up into groups. The way this has got videos that go with it, by the way, as well, video training as well. But just by putting a colon behind the title when you write it, it automatically turns it into a little group heading. And what I try to do is break it up into the natural group. You'll see this is for that site we were just looking at, so we're in the last bits of it now. So the only bits showing are the bits that are either overdue or due. And we got the pre-going live task checks and so on. Checking that all the components are updated, all the natural things. Making sure that Akiba's download ID goes live when we change the site over. Because at the moment we don't put the live ID in because with Akiba, it would be assigning the wrong address. Install iJoomla SEO, which I've done, but I haven't finished setting it up, so that's part of that task. If we click on some of those, yeah, there's subtasks. So we've got subtasks there to track as well. And you can easily just come across here. The idea of this is so you don't have to send emails anymore. When you first set it up, if you don't tell it to turn off the emails, you get emailed about everything that's inserted, which is a real pain in the butt. If you turn off all email notifications, the only thing you get is like a report at the end, which is really good. Because in here, each person can see what the last person's done. Now, if you're working on a project like I do with a graphic designer who's not necessarily in the same office, if a client rings up and asks how something's going, you know, how's the graphic of the little forks, for instance, going, I only have to click onto that. I then can see exactly what she's done when. We can link the graphics and everything, or anything else we use, we can link, but they're not actually stored on there. They're just a link back to Dropbox, for instance, where they're stored. So it doesn't soak up valuable space as well. And like I said, you can have up to 15 projects.
Is that 15 in total or 15 at a time?
15 at a time. Okay. So if you don't want to retain your projects, basically you could use this free forever, I guess. Julian likes that. So I'm still in the test phase. If I like this, I usually buy what I like. So with this one, this is a subscription, so I'll probably get the minor subscription. Just enough to sort of keep it legal, and that'll be it.
How many users? How many users do I count?
As far as I know, there's no limit on the number of users you can have in your project. I could be wrong about that, but I know, you know, there was 10 spaces, for instance. So you can have 10 users, for instance, in that project, and probably more. I haven't tested that side of it because there's only 2 of us. Carly said she's been using this for about 3 or 4 months now, and she's got most of her projects running in it, live projects. It sends you, when you're overdue, it'll send you a little reminder to your email telling you you've missed tasks, because that's if you set dates. You don't have to set dates to tasks, once again. You can assign them and you can set dates to them and so on. You can look back, you can view all your tasks. At the moment it's showing tasks to do. Down here you get all the choices. Tasks by due date, all tasks, recently completed tasks, so you can see what's just been finished recently. Things like that are probably more important when you've got multiple people working on the project. For small concerns like ours where we only have 2 people, it's, you know, showing what's recently completed, and that doesn't really matter because we see each other enough to know that. And each person can have their own default views and the way they look at it, because you can change the way this looks on screen and that as well. It's web-based, so it's cloud-based, so everything's saved, not lost, backed up. It's all good. That's about that, where that is. The only other thing I was going to show outside of that, where that's your testimonials, last pass. Yes, no problem. I've done that. The Kiva's there and live.
When she mentioned before about the green light or something, how does that happen?
Oh, sorry, yes, we don't have a green light. She has a green light in hers.
How do you set that up or whatever?
Right, yeah. Sorry, it's all right. What she was talking about, there, the one they use is not as detailed as this. This one actually goes a lot further, so you get a lot better SEO out of it as well. But with theirs, they go, just imagine you get this screen only here. When I get there, he says. The one we were looking at first up. This screen. So what it's basically saying, they get the green light when they filled each area, and it's filled correctly, meaning they haven't used too many characters and so on. It actually gives them a green light for that page. So if you wanted that, if nothing shows up, if you run over, this goes into a minus red figure. Yep. So in other words, if you want to compare it to a green light, if you've got the 3 of these filled up, you've got no red minus figures there, you can say, well, I've got a green light. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't know whether you've got the right keywords. Only you know that. But it does check. This is where this program's probably a lot better. It will check keywords that you said you're going to use against what's actually in the page, for instance. Yep. And that's where it tells you that you haven't used any of those keywords in that page we looked at before. Yep. I'd only actually used 1 keyword out of 4 that I'd identified. So that was quite important. Also, another thing that's important you don't realise, with Joomla, you can get multiple links. Especially if you develop your page before you actually turn on your SEO, SER, not SER, that's your SERS, yes, SEF. if you develop before you turn on your SEF, you end up with multiple links to the same pages. So this will help you go fire. It'll show all those up, and you can go fire and then delete out the links that really don't go anywhere anymore. They're pointing to the non-SEF pages. Like I work live on a site, but they're not at the actual site. It's a development platform, and then I move it when it's finished. So because of that, there's certain things I can't do, and turning on the SEF is not one of them. I can do that, but things like Akiba and that, I can't register Akiba properly and things like that. That's why I've got them as post checks. After I've gone live with the site, I go through and I've got a checklist to go through those things. The last thing I'll mention is I've been working with Carly. We've been developing a questionnaire sheet for new customers, which we're going to share around. So I'll probably post that. We're pretty happy with what we've got at the moment. I'll probably post that up onto the meetup group as just an attachment on there which you can download and have a look at. So if you don't have something at the moment, it's quite comprehensive. But the idea is, you know, if they're a small customer, you've got to say, don't panic about some of the questions, because this is a one-fits-all type questionnaire. But it's a gathering. It's also helping the customer identify their customer, like who their customer is, because that's very important to us when we're writing a website. We've got to know who they're aiming for. A lot of business owners, especially small business owners, have this scattergun approach, where as far as they're concerned, everybody's a customer, and they're just sort of splatting the whole lot out there, hoping that it hits somebody who buys something. That's not the approach they need. They need to identify their customer, the type of customer they want basically to come through the door, the customer who's going to spend the money, not the one who just is interested and wants to look. So we force them to do that, and by doing that, we can develop a much better site. So they're much happier in the end, especially it's an e-commerce site. They start selling product. It's always a good thing. There was an article I was telling Jen about earlier that I read today where it's talking about content. Very good organic content is obviously a good thing to have, but there's a lot of people at the moment who think if they have that and they just sit it there, they only have to sit back and wait for the money to roll in. It doesn't happen that way. They need to be proactive. That's where things like blogs, your SEO is important. You need to make that an important site to get noticed. There has to be a reason for the person. The person just doesn't go out and miraculously sees that site and says, oh, I'm going to buy that. So customers need that explaining to them as well, and we've got that in the questionnaire sheets basically. So I'll put that up, like I said, on the meetup group. If you've got anything to add to it, if you think we've missed something, we're open to suggestions on it, because the more people that add to it, the better sheet we're going to have for everybody to use. And I think we're a group where we don't have to sort of keep secrets, and everyone's got to do the same basic processes. So if we put all our information together and we get a better sheet, then we're all better off as far as I'm concerned. That's the way I think.